It's normally an immersion, or it's normally a summit, an engineering summit. So yes, when I received the request, I was like, okay, wow, let's see. Let's see how we can best do this and how to best support. So I'm a mother of three, two boys and a girl. My youngest is just 10 months. Um, Other than that, in my career, I started off as a hardcore engineer in enterprise. I was supporting our customers. That was about 13, going 14 years ago. And I then moved and realized I had a passion for the business side. So I decided to integrate the tech knowledge I had with the business acumen. And this is the point where I then had and joined our partner management team. And I stayed there for a couple of years, about 4 years. And there I was actually in charge of the technology partners. So the likes of Cisco, the likes of Huawei, Nokia, Ericsson. And that gave me the channel to be able to bridge the tech and the business bit of it. After that, I got a stint to try out startups within Safaricom. And I pushed myself and I joined Makoha, our e-commerce platform. And there I did, I think, a short time, but quite impactful for myself. I was able to turn around quite a lot in terms of our order defect rate, in terms of our delivery entity for the partners. And with that, I got a raise, and I was able to lead the vendor management team and also lead the content team. So the guys who put things on the website. And after a short period of time, then Makoha decided to reduce its business coverage. And then with that, I also took the challenge and moved to our agri-tech platform, another startup, that's DigiFarm. I think for me, DigiFarm was more or less baptism by fire, because I'm not a farmer at heart. But yeah, new challenges I love embracing. And at that point, when I got to DigiFarm, I was shocked. My first meeting, I went into a meeting and people were talking about different kinds of green grams. I never knew there were different kinds of green grams. I never knew there was cotton, and then there was the other one, the oil ones. I was like, wow, what is all this? I actually called my mom after that meeting and told her this is not for me. Have I made a wrong choice? And she told me, no, it's okay. I'll help you through this. Took time, learned quite a bit. My boss was quite receptive. And I think I did a year and a half that I loved it after that. Then tech came calling again. So I got a call and I was told there's a position and we think we would want you to try it out because we think you're quite good for it. And that is how I landed back in IT. And so currently as we speak, I sit in IT. I lead the IT governance team. I'm also the chief of staff to the director IT, who's currently now the acting CTIO. So new challenges again. And lastly, I also head Safaricom Women in Tech. And that is why I am in this seat today in capacity of leading the women in technology. I lead a group of about 40 passionate women. So in general, we're about 300 in technology, but I have champions. So the 40 ladies are champions who basically help me run women in tech and be able to champion the different initiatives we have. And Adeline is one of the strong champions we have. And I'm happy that she's also able to multitask and do not only her job, do things in it, and at the same time also do AWS initiative. So yeah, so in that capacity, I think we've been able to do quite remarkably well in terms of diversity. When we started Women in Tech, that was in 2013, because we celebrated 10 years last year. We were at 8% within the technology division, and we were a very small number. That pained us, and currently, as we're speaking, we're at 25%, so we've moved quite a bit. And when we started out, there was no woman in leadership in technology. We're actually at 0%. And due to the many initiatives we are doing and the intentional effort, we are now currently at 29%. I think something we're really proud of and we celebrate to date. So with that, I think for me, I would say we are pushing in terms of diversity. We are embracing what that would look like. And that brings me to the topic of today. So that topic would then be diversity and inclusion in tech careers. And as I share my presentation, please feel free to raise any questions you have or even to chat and share what you think you expect in terms of the session today. It would be nice to see what the expectation is and what you're looking forward to, and also maybe just the questions around things that you want me to be able to respond to. So in case of any question, Adeline, you can actually pose me. I want it to be very interactive. You can actually pose and just let me know so I can weave it into the conversation. So allow me then to progress. So when we talk about diversity, what exactly are we talking about? So diversity is basically, for me, the sense where we are recognizing the different things or different capabilities or different abilities or the differences amongst us. So you'll notice we're not all the same gender, we're not all the same tribes, we're not all the same nationalities. Even in terms of capability and ability, some of us are able differently. So those are the things that we are actually calling differences. And the moment we can be able to recognize the differences amongst each one of us, then you're able to say then there's some diversity in that aspect. And I think for me, it's not only about recognizing those differences, because some of them are physical and some of them are not physical. So at times you have to actually allow yourself to be present in a situation to actually notice some of the differences. Some of the differences are actually very internal. So for example, the first time you're meeting someone, you may not be able to tell maybe they are deaf or they are limited in terms of hearing. So at times it is allowing you to be present in the moment to realize what the differences someone else might be having or be projecting towards you. So being intentional and committed to the conversations and being present in the moment, just allowing you to embrace the different aspects. Other than that, we also have different diversity in terms of even sexual orientation. And I think that's a big hot topic around the world. And not in Kenya, it might be something that is hashed out, but the reality is that it is something that is present. And in different countries, it is approached differently. So that is also something that we see in our spaces. It may not be allowed, but again, then do we need to recognize it? I believe so. Even religion, we need to be very cognizant of the different regional aspects we have amongst our spaces. And other than just being able to recognize these differences, whether internal or external, we need to be able to understand the differences that are amongst us. And for me, understanding is that, so I notice they are differently able in terms of hearing, then what's next? What enables you? Do you get shocked and scared and then you walk away? No, I think for me to become inclusive. So inclusion is where you understand that each person is unique in their own way. And other than understanding, then you're able to accept and then respect their uniqueness. And I think for me, this goes a long way in terms of, for example, a couple of years back, our late CEO, may God rest his soul in peace, Bob was able to be, was a big proponent of diversity, inclusion, and equity. And Bob, in this case, realized that we were able to accommodate, challenge us to accommodate people who were differently able in the organization. And I remember at that point then, we had teams that were hard of hearing, and we actually pushed ourselves and we learned sign language. And for me, the fact that we could learn sign language to be able to communicate with these people, that was brilliantly a sign of inclusion. So basically, we're including these people in our world so that we're able to also be in their world. And with that then comes equity. So equity is where we are creating an environment that they feel that they are more or less accepted, they're more or less included, and they're able to integrate into the environment. Another concept would be a funny one that I had, I think, yesterday when we were having an event. And the analogy that was used to describe diversity, inclusion, and equity was a wedding. And it was more or less the fact that in a wedding, so you're invited to the wedding, that's diversity. And then you take a picture with the couple, which rarely happens, that's inclusion. And then when they're serving cake, most times people not everyone gets cake, but the moment all of you get cake, then that's equity, because you've been able to be allowed to taste the thing, the most coveted item during the wedding. So that is a very interesting analogy to have. So as I said, basically diversity, inclusion, and equity is, do we recognize, are we aware that people might be having differences? Are we intentional to notice both the external, the internal differences? Then do we understand what those things mean? And are we able to then accept and respect those differences? And beyond that, is the environment safe enough? Are we integrating this type of environment? Are we creating an environment that is enabling for the different people with different unique abilities? And just be conscious. For example, now is Ramadan. As you move around, I think we're in a function yesterday and someone asked me, please let so-and-so know that the buffet is open and they can eat. And I was conscious enough to tell back the person, no, the person is observing Ramadan. And I didn't have to go to her. I could actually, I know she's Muslim, I respect she's Muslim, and it's Ramadan season, so she's actually on a break. And so, yes, some of these things may not come to us immediately, but we have to be intentional in our spaces to be able to understand their different and the differences and the unique abilities that each of us has. So what are the limitations in terms of diversity and inclusion? So some of these things are basically 4 buckets for me. And I think I'll start with the one that is the most outstanding one, stereotypes and cultural norms. So if you notice, like in terms of our ecosystem, we realize a lot of scenarios, fewer women are taking STEM in school. And that is even why we started Women in Tech, because the numbers were so minimal and so disappointing. And so such things, why are fewer women in the system? It's because STEM was believed it's a man's world, it's an engineering world, it's a masculine world. And so with those stereotypes, just because it is hands-on, you use your hands quite a bit, and it's tough things like let's say what, let me give you an example of fixing cars and stuff, all those, because of the stereotypes that were involved, that was a man's work. It has then continued over time, and fewer women are actually able to embrace them because it's still there. It's still the undertones of our minds. It's still the unconscious biases that we have. Then we have unfavorable policies all over. So for example, when in the workplaces, how many organizations are able to embrace that they have, like, for example, women, and women go through different seasons of life, and this seasons include parenting, include starting out families, and they need to be able to be accommodated and given an enabling environment to be able to still work and be able to achieve the other responsibilities they have in life. Then there's also the gender roles. So in terms of gender roles, again, parenting and all that. So women are, you find most times, just like men, we are integrated into the system quite a bit in terms of the things you need to do. Like, for example, a woman wakes up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. In her mind, so many things are running already in her mind. Children need to dress up to go to school. I need to maybe prepare and go for a meeting and a presentation. And at the same time, the house is to be left with some food and stuff, organize your house manager and stuff like that. So this thing, as a woman, they're extreme additional roles that you have. Men have the same too. But again, if you notice, for women at times, it is more, for the men, it is more from a provisional perspective. And so for the women, it's more of a physical perspective. And so again, being intentional about what we're able to accept and recognize from this. Then there's the imposter syndrome. Every day we wake up in the morning, when you have a big interview, it's just natural for any human being to be like, wow, how am I going to have this conversation? How am I going to show up to that meeting? Will I be speaking the right thing? Will I be able to present the right thing? Will people be listening? Will people be able to understand what I'm presenting? So we really second guess ourselves, and it is human. It is natural for each and every person. Even today, I think where I am at, there's still meetings that I have a lot of anxiety and butterflies about. There's still scenarios where I'm asked to speak and I'm like, wow, I really get up and I'm like, what am I going to say? It's only but natural. But again, there's this committee in your head. Those are committees in your head that, again, we need to learn to be intentional about how you switch them off when you need to switch them off. Then there's also the part of discrimination at the recruitment level. So you'll notice during, like, most times, because of the way the industry is already, as projected a masculine world, most times you walk into an interview and you'll find that at that level also, there is more or less presence of masculinity. And also there's also the presence of, at times, initially it used to be the old generation versus the new generation. So you'll notice also the time the managers in tech now are the older generation, but the people being interviewed are the Gen Z, right? And at this point then, these are different ones. Again, different abilities. Are we recognizing this ability? So at this recruitment level, do we have someone who then understands? Are we able to allow ourselves to understand the audience who we are recruiting, their different unique abilities that they're bringing on board, and how then we embrace those unique abilities? So at times it then means that, due to, again, unconscious bias, as you're recruiting, you tend to go to a comfortable space from where you come from or what you identify with. And this again presents a limit in terms of the people we are recruiting in the tech space. So with that, I think, like in Safaricom, we're trying to be very intentional about when we are recruiting. We, for example, tech roles, nowadays we insist a woman at least has to be, one of the women managers has to be present in the recruitment panel, just to give you that angle to be able to also appreciate the different things that come onto the table. Then we have the support network. So for tech careers, we realize that at times mentorship opportunities are a bit limited, or even the networking opportunities are limited. For us, we've realized that you have to be very intentional about this thing. We realize, for example, AWS, they have the global forum, which is the reInvent forum. And this forum is global, meaning for you to go out there, you have to invest in yourself, or your company has to invest for you to go there. But you can still do something at the local level. And this is where AWS user groups and communities come in. So in this place, they are now coming up to bring that forum locally for us to be able to create those networking opportunities that were not there. If you notice, the likes of Google, they are now trying to bring in the groups locally, like the GBG group, so that we can have that local forum for networking to enable the tech diversity to enhance, to create more opportunities and more spaces where we can network and leverage off each other. And it's interesting to see like some of the user groups, like now AWS is being led by women, things that were not there before. And you'll notice that even like in Dedan Kimathi University, the GDG groups, the women are so vibrant. These are things that were not there before. You'd actually notice that the groups that were there were more masculine dominated, but with time, the recognition of the diversity and the push to be more inclusive has led these groups now to be more cognizant of the fact that actually they can have women leaders and they can deliver as men. Then there's lastly the bit about lack of representation. So diversity and inclusion doesn't come naturally for most. It is something that you have to be very intentional about. And also you have to be having access to information. So you have to be able to understand what you're dealing with. So that information about the need to include at times is not readily available unless your organization is very intentional or the community around you is very intentional about it. So we notice that that is a challenge. So I think more information needs to be adequately available for people to understand the need of diversity, the need of the inclusivity bit of it, and also the equity bit of it. And then maybe just representation and leadership. So in the tech field, because for the longest time it has been male dominated, we have very few women and especially fewer women at the top. So normally you realize if the few men at the top, then who champions the policies, who champions the decision making in favor of women, who brings the women matters to the table from a different perspective and just to enable it to be something that is discussed, agreed upon, and can actually be utilized. So again, that representation in leadership has then led that what is the diversity at the leadership level, and not only for women. Are we seeing diversity in terms of differently able people, in terms of physical abilities? Are we seeing differently able people in terms, for example, I think autistic people are brilliant tech people. If you notice most of the tech, like engineering roles, like the software engineering roles, I feel like the autistic people do a wonderful job with them. But you see, are we seeing that? Are we seeing that in terms of leadership across? Are we seeing people coming out strongly to be able to say, this is my position and this is how I'm bringing diversity to the table, and it is for the advantage and for the good of the industry. So I believe these are still undercurrents, these are still things that are very minimal. The women are trying to penetrate, but I feel like we have a lot in terms of diversity. It's not about just a women agenda, it's about the different abilities. And we need those abilities to be able to be presented at a leadership level to ensure all voices are present at that space. And the policies and the decisions that are being made are encompassing everyone. Then lastly, discrimination and bias. As I mentioned, unconscious bias, I think, is the biggest monster in this space. There are things that at times you don't intentionally want to portray in a negative light, but unconsciously in your mind, yeah, it is there. So you walk in a room and you assume everyone is Christian and you pray a Christian prayer. I may not be wearing a hijab, I may not be wearing a kanzu, but maybe I am Muslim. So you see the assumption that you walked into a room and you prayed Christian, that is an unconscious bias. Or for example, I think when I had a role where most of my career, when I started out, I used to be, when I was doing support, I used to really like dressing in bodycons. I used to really like dressing in like very feminine attires and all that. And at many point, my team would be like, you know what, this, I don't think this is for you. We don't think you'll go far. And they would not even say to my face. They would say behind my back at times in different conversations. And they said, oh, you know, bro, you know what, you're not a techie. But my dressing has nothing to do with being a techie. So those are the unconscious bias that people think if you dress nice, if you take care of yourself, then you're not able to become a technical person. So I think for me, unconscious bias is the biggest monster that we are fighting on here because of people, of the stereotypes, cultural norms, and the lack of information that is creating this kind of biases. The next one. So what does diversity and inclusivity do for us in terms of tech career growth, in terms of this space? I think for me, diverse and inclusive groups basically are a matter of bringing in diverse talent, bringing in diverse ideas, diverse methods. So diverse talent. The moment you sit in a group and you realize that you have different voices represented, brilliant ideas come. Look at, for example, when we're doing M-Pesa. So M-Pesa has been there, it's serving now 7 African countries, and we give it in different channels. But recently, about 2 years ago, 3, actually 2, You then notice that we created a brain watch that was able to serve our M-Pesa customers who are not able then to be able to see. And so for me, the fact that we were able to be intentional and realize, you know what, M-Pesa is a brilliant innovation. Everyone is happy about it, but there are people who are not able to use M-Pesa. And so why are they being left behind? So for us, no one gets left behind. And so that's, I think, for me, the biggest thing about working at Safaricom, that we are now going more into products that are inclusive. As we are building that product, and we are embedding it in our strategy to know that who are the people who we need to improve our target market, and are they all of the same capability and ability, or is there a difference, and can we accept what difference it is, understand it, and then provide something that can then help them through that difference. And so for me, that is more creativity. Look at in Women in Technology. We go out to the community, we ask teams to register, girls from different schools register. And when you look at the kind of solutions that they bring about, so the last 3 years, we've had teams from Samburu, the underserved communities, and the marginalized community. So this is Samburu, the slums, Kibera, Kawangware, and then we have the likes of Lamu all the way. The girls there have, when they decide to choose something they're passionate about in their communities. Last year we had a team from Lamu, and those girls basically sat down and said, you know what, we are tired of losing our parents to fishing. Fishing is the main economic activity. So when they go fishing, when the tide is high abruptly or something, then again, if they're not able to come back to shore on time, they're lost in the waves and the tides and they lose their lives. So these girls are like, they're tired of losing our parents, our brothers. So they decided and said, we are going to create an app that then is able to tell when a high tide is coming and warn the fishermen in advance. So when you see such things and they're like, wow. So again, the diversity are young girls who are just in high school, but they're seeing these problems in their society and they're able to create this solution. Before that, we had a group of girls in Samburu the previous year. And for them, they were like, FGM is one of our biggest issues. And for them, how then can we stay in school, get to learn like our counterparts in different parts of the country, and still be able to appreciate and do the things that we need to do in the society? So they created an app that informs the authorities of any early marriage. So you can report early marriage or FGM on the app. But the same app again, they are able to give a part of it that their parents are able to then sell beadwork that they make in it. So again, economically empowering the community. So this is why when I say, when we include these groups, the kind of creativity, the kind of enhanced and elevated creativity we are seeing is visible. So for me, diversity and inclusion is not even a conversation. It's a must-have. It's one of those things we need to integrate in our societies and in the tech space, for example, because there's so much to be done in the tech space. And I feel like the more diverse we have, the more we can grow, the more we can innovate, and the more we can create the futuristic Kenya that we want. In terms of perspectives, the way God made us, men and women bring very different things to the table. The way we think is very different. And then when we're brought together, it complements so well. And that is why I don't normally say, let's say, for example, you're sitting and you're thinking about like an event, or you're trying to curate like an engineering summit, and you're at the table and there are men and women. So you realize the men tend to mob like, what are we showcasing? What is the tech that is being showcased? But there's small things that the women then also still make you, they'll discuss the tech, but the women will also have that additional perspective of, okay, so we're having this event, what is the look and feel? At the time, how you even place words, how you even place, they are able to, and God gave us these differences for us to complement each other, not for us to separate from each other and create a rift. So again, as I said, I believe the inclusion is an important thing to have and is an important thing to push for. Lastly, in terms of the market, this diverse creativity and innovation then gives us diverse products. These products for us, when they go to the market, they're encompassing of everyone, meaning they meet all our customers' needs. And again, this is good for business. So for, whether it's AWS, whether it's Safaricom, whether it's Apple, the more diverse your product is and inclusive, then you're able to generate, or rather capture, a big and large market share. And then again, for you, more sales and more revenue as a business. So what can we do in terms of that can lead us to be able to achieve diversity in tech? So there are several things, but I think today I'll just highlight 5 things. And for me, it is inclusive policies #1. So as tech companies, are we out there being intentional? Are we embedding it in our strategy to be able to have policies that can be inclusive and can push the organization to be inclusive of the different unique abilities of our staff members. Some of these policies are as simple as, let's say, the maternity break when the women come back, or rather even policies in terms of what is there to accommodate, for us to accommodate people who are differently abled physically. So those policies help remind us each and every day. At times, I normally say when you repeat something over and over, then it becomes top of mind. It becomes something you integrate yourself with. So again, these policies are not there to restrict, but to help us remember that we need to do this. We need to be intentional about these groups. They are minority groups or they are diverse groups, and these groups need to be able to be supported. Then there's the inclusive recruitment. Again, just encouraging, fostering diverse talent pools. What are we doing about this? So as tech companies, as you are recruiting, are you being intentional and aware that as we recruit, what are our numbers looking like? In our panels, are we incorporating different unique perspectives, even in our recruiting panels, or is our panels dominated or leaning towards one side and hence not giving us that full view of how we need to look at this wide space? And then there's the culture equity. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is everything. And for me, I think even in DIT, when I stated I lead the cultural DIT spirit team, for me, it is what are we doing to improve it? Like now, for example, we're doing our end of year town hall next week. And because this season, we were planning for it, to realize this month or this quarter, we had Easter, we have Ramadan. How then do we blend, or how are we intentional? Because over the years, we've always had our last quarter town hall dubbed the Easter town hall. But remember, it's Easter town hall, but we have people moving to Ramadan. So if you call it the Easter town hall, are you being inclusive? Are you being of the other religions? No, you're not. So again, I call out my team and tell them, you know what? How best can we then approach this from a different angle where we are intentionally aware that there are different diverse groups amongst us. And for that reason, we changed the theme. And so the theme is something very general that doesn't speak to anyone specific. And then everyone can come and appreciate it and enjoy it from the different spaces. Then we have the mentorship groups. So for example, the underrepresented or the marginalized teams, are we having mentorship outreaches or mentorship initiatives to help these teams come to where we are? With, for example, AWS has the user groups. Women in tech, for us, we go across the country. And I think for me, the thing that has pained my heart most is that when I go to Eastern, and when I'm going to speak to the girls there, I'm not taking the same message that I'm speaking to girls in Nairobi or to boys in Nairobi. Like even when I say go to Nairobi University or African Nazarene, and when I'm going to Garissa University, different conversations. If you look at the high schools in both towns, Nairobi and let's say Marsabit, the students are sitting, they don't even have a classroom. At times they're sitting on a bench under a tree. But in Nairobi, kids have classrooms, they have even laptops, they have tablets at home, they have everything. So when you're having a conversation to the students in Garissa or Marsabit, you're telling them about computers. First of all, they're just wondering, do we even get to class? Do we sit somewhere? Does the teacher teach us? Are we able to get knowledge? So when you're talking about a computer and you're talking about AI, for example, they're not at that level. So how then best are we creating mentorship groups to allow those underrepresented, those marginalized, or those underrepresented groups to come to the same level as everyone else, so that the conversations are equal, so that the conversations are fair across board, and you're giving them fair opportunities. Then lastly, a safe working environment. So in terms of as an organization, whether AWS, whether Safaricom, whether the Googles, are we being intentional to be able to incorporate feedback, to understand our teams, the demographics of our team? Are we creating an enabling environment for them in terms of the different needs they have? Are we able to embrace those diversities? Are we learning about those diversities? And then are we then being inclusive? What do we need to incorporate in those culture and practices within our teams or even within our working spaces to accommodate these people? I went for an event, sadly to say, for last year, towards the end of last year, and I was moderating a panel, and one of my panel members, I was on a wheelchair, and he's a tech guy, and unfortunately enough, I was actually going through a cancer bout. And when we got to the room where I was supposed to do the engagement, so he had not confirmed if he was able to make it or not. So last minute, he actually arrived for the event. But then now, we couldn't go on stage. These guys didn't have a ramp. And this was something very sad for me. And I said, you know what? We're not going to change rooms because someone has a wheelchair. I will stay in this room so that people can actually start knowing that next time when we have this kind of event, we need to be accommodative of this kind. So I told them we can't move from the room where the event was scheduled to have because we're now trying to find a way around it. I told them, no, we'll find a way of getting this guy on stage. But going forward, then this shows us that we're not being inclusive and we need to be more inclusive. So such things. And for the organizers, it was, you can't say you're blaming them because for them, it's an unconscious bias. It's an assumption that everyone who comes for this is a tech event. Everyone who comes for this tech event is just a person who is able to physically walk in. Not true. We have enough people who are taking in the tech space who are not able to walk in for a reason or another. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is, are we creating that environment, whether at work, whether in our homes, in our offices, whether in our events, what are we doing to be able to create that enabling environment for the different diverse groups? And so as I close, technology companies that have shown diversity of over 20%, if you notice their businesses are growing because diversity brings in different perspectives together, which means better product, better services, which means more customers for all of us and meaning more business for all of us. So if you see, Amazon is at 29%, Facebook at 34%, Apple at 31%, Safaricom at 29%. And these are companies that are recording great sales out here. So again, this just reiterates to show diversity and inclusivity is one of the recipes towards winning. And for companies to stop thinking it's a HR agenda, but for me, I believe diversity and inclusivity is a strategic agenda and should be embedded in every aspect of the business, not only HR, it should be embedded in terms of strategizing on products, on services, on customer experience. All this should be considered in terms of diversity and inclusivity. And so lastly, Maya Angelou says that she learned that people will never forget what you say. People forget what you say, people forget what you do, but people never forget how you made them feel. So for example, the panel I was leading, the guy who couldn't come on stage because he was on a wheelchair and we had to find a way around it. How do you think we made that guy feel? How do you think he felt? And actually, when he was on stage, finally, he spoke about it. He may have spoken about it because he has learned how to deal with unconscious bias and learned how to deal with people not being inclusive. But deep down, I don't think it was a nice thing to have been done. And so people will never forget how you made it regardless of the situation. And as I close, I think I had a video. I was not able to embed it for one reason or another. I'll try and see if it can play. If it can, well and good. If not, I think you can, yeah. I think what I can do is I can share the link on the chat and you can watch it. It's a video that is quite interesting and shows the different perspectives of what happens in terms of diversity. Allow me just to skip that. I know it will take time. But I'll share the link on the chat and then we can all watch it and just see how diversity is playing out in the different parts of the world and how unconscious bias comes into play. So the last part of my presentation is just some pictures about what we do in the different spaces in Safaricom. So the first one is like what we do with high school girls. The second picture shows basically staff mentorship sessions that are also calling out biases and all. Then there's also the technovation groups that do different things to try and impact their communities. Then we have, for example, during the engineering summit, we had an all ladies hackathon. This is one of the teams that was present. And then the lower picture on the left is my team of women in tech, the champions who helped me be able to just champion diversity. And then lastly, in the middle at the bottom is a panel we had during our last summit. And again, these are women leading big companies, tech companies in the country, like Phyllis Migu, who does Microsoft, and there was Lydia Mason at Nation, myself, then there was Rebecca Wanjiku, who leads Fireside Communications, and then you have Laura Chitin, also from the tech space. And lastly, just a photo from our engineering community. That photo always makes me glow because it also embraces the different diversities of the African space. And I think as an African community, as a continent, we have so much potential. We just need to be able to see how we weave it all in, how are we push our teams to be highly motivated and to be high impact and high delivery. And then we will be able to get there. We will even soon have our own reinvent at some point in Kenya, and we can host it and we can push and show the great work that both our companies at Safaricom and AWS is doing within this space. So I guess with that, I'm done. Open to any questions, input, comments, and yeah, back to you, Adeline.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much. I've actually taken notes. Yes, and I love the part of reinventing Kenya. Hopefully it's something we can actualize. So we have a couple of questions on the chat. One is from Abdi. I'm so interested in the tech world. What tech skills is vital?
Give me a minute. Allow me to remove that so that I'm more, yeah. So the tech world, what skills are vital? So I guess what I would say is there's no specific skill. There are many skills. And a couple of years ago, we did an analysis, and that's the time everyone was saying that we needed IoT, data analytics, or data engineering. We needed something on cloud. We needed something on what else was there? Machine learning. Yeah, and I think UI UX. Those were the hot things at that moment. But all I have learned over time is it's quickly evolving. So you'll not say this is the skill I want. For me, I think tech is about continuous reading. And so you have the basic tech skills, and it can be either networking skills or it can be IT, like software development skills. Then based on that, you then layer on top of that. So as you're layering, you're going with the trend. So like now there's all this hula baloo about Gen AI and all. So then from your development skills, what are you layering on top based on the different trends and different things that come and go each and every moment? Because it's a fast-paced world. So I think for me, it's getting the fundamentals. Are you a network person, or are you an IT, like software person, or are you network administrator or system administrator? Then what are you layering on top of that? So layering is the key thing here. Get your basic and then now layer. And that layering, as I always say, with tech, you have to relearn and learn each and every day. Something new is happening. And if you stick with the old norms, then you quickly get irrelevant, and then you find yourself thrown off the space. So for me, it's understand what fundamentals you want. Do you want a networking world in terms of the telco or the GSM one? Or do you want like an IT world? So you do like the software dev, and then now you layer it with different things, whether it's data analytics, whether it's machine learning, whether it's AI, UI, UX, those kind of conversations. But right now, what I like about the skills are they are more accommodative in terms of differences or different abilities. Because I find at times we have now things like quality engineering, we have things like UI, UX that were not there way back when us were in campus. And those are things that are now a bit more I even see like UI UX encompasses a lot of the artistic bit. So nowadays I don't even talk about STEM, I talk about STEAM, because for me, art is now getting layered. If you look at AI and all that, art is now being embedded in STEM. So it's no longer like a very science techie world. It's more or less how are we integrating the two worlds, and that is what new tech is all about.
Thank you, Donna. So we have a comment from Mariam. I feel like I fall in every quarter of this cycle you are sharing right now. I think is one of the slides. But what is standing out for most is that no diversity in hiring panels, imposter syndrome, stereotyping, and lack of mentorship. And another comment is that lack of mentorship for women techies is such a huge gap in Kenya. Maybe you can elaborate if the various groups that you shared in the last slides, it's open to the public.
So we have some parts that's open to the public. In Women in Tech, we have campus outreach, which is open to every woman in any university across Kenya. Then we have the networking bit is for even the public in terms of the working women. What I would say is, in terms of tech mentorship, there are so many initiatives out here. In fact, I normally say at times, we need to work out together and just have one big Women in Tech group, and yeah. But there's so many initiatives. There's Inwadata, there's Inwadata, there's us, Women in Tech, then there's Women Tech Makers. There's so many groups. What we need to do is, are we present in social media? Let me tell you, social media, as much as we said times, it has negative impact, it also has positive impact. These groups are present all over nowadays in terms of IG, in terms, yes, Tech for Dev, yes. There's on Twitter, lots of groups. These groups are just, even there's one that is global, is in West Africa and Kenya, it's Wenters. They also provide mentorship for women in tech. There are many groups. The only thing is you need to have information. So you need to be in the space of social media also quite a bit and follow these groups so that you also be able to see the information that they're sharing and how you can join the groups. So I tend to feel like our ladies in Kenya, or even the men, because it's lack of information. We sit somewhere, like for example, in class, and we wait and say, okay, maybe I'm in the university, I'm studying engineering, I'm studying a tech course. So me nitamaliza nipate first class and I'll get this nice job. It's not enough. It's not enough. There's a lot of, like, for example, free courses online. There's a lot of free events out here, and you have to invest in yourself. Nowadays, it's not about the fact that you're doing a science-based course. When you come for, let's say, an interview in Safaricom, we will not just ask you for your paper or ask you what course you're doing and they're giving you an internship. No. Even during our internship interviews, we'll ask you, what else are you doing? You have a portfolio in GitHub. What have you done for yourself? And what forums have you attended, or industrial events? How are you playing back? How are you connecting what you're learning at school and what's happening in the world? So you also need to go and look for this information. You need to be present in social media to sieve and get positive information that can help you advance yourself, advance your thought. Because you'll appreciate what is in our universities. It's a very limited curriculum. It's quite a bit still old school, and we're working towards helping the ministry to enable us refine it. But a lot is already being given for free online on YouTube, Udemy, the different educational platforms. What is that you're adding to make yourself more marketable, to make yourself more relevant and of understanding of what's happening around the world?
Okay, thank you so much, Donna. One more question from Faith. Hi, I'm currently an actuarial science student and I wanted to learn other skills. So I ended up taking a certification in data science, which switched my towards tech. Also, I'm enrolled to AWS cloud computing certificates, and I feel everything about tech is so interesting. I don't know which path to take as of now. What can you advise?
So Faith, you remind me of someone in my team called Emma Okere. You can look her up. She works for Safaricom currently. Emma is did actuarial science like yourself. She actually had her first, but she's also now switched to tech. So even her, she's done something around data and stuff. So now she works in our business intelligence team, the BI team within the billing systems, and that is still in the technology division. So that's someone you should actually now start approaching and asking, how can you help me integrate back to this space? So it's possible. It's possible to actually live at home. We have people in Safaricom who are teachers and now in the tech space. So I like the fact that you've actually gone ahead and even done a certification in data science, and now even the AWS user group. So in tech, there are two groups. There's the tech guys, and then there's the tech enthusiasts. And I think tech enthusiasts are doing really good for themselves. And I think you'll fall in that space and you can transition to become a full techie. All you need is the right mentorship, and where you're going is the right direction. So if you're an actuarial science and data, that is a data world, and now you're moving to data science, I would really ask that you pursue that all the way. And now then you then get to choose, do you want to go to machine learning, do you want to go data engineering, or do you want to stay within data science? But there are careers for you. Like for example, in business intelligence, we also have a data science team in Safaricom. So there are possibilities for you. All you need is just mentorship in the right space. And if you can look up Emma, I know she'll be glad to be able to involve you in that space. Emma Okere is in.
Okay, thank you. So the other messages are more congratulatory messages for the informative information that you have shared. It was such a great session. Reinvent in Kenya. This will be great. Yes, and definitely we'll be partnering. And wow, such a great session. Thank you, DR. That was an elaborative presentation, very informative. Maybe you can share. Yeah, there's so much appreciation, and I'm currently doing cloud computing with the AWS Restart, almost done with training. Please share places with open internship opportunities. Yes, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All I can say is we're at an era of a close. We're at an era where information is power. Everything, and like before, where you'd maybe know someone at times to open a door for you, or you'd wait for universities, for companies to come and say we are hiring, and your lecturer would recommend you. A lot is happening in terms of on the internet, online. Right now, companies need you to have a profile. So it's not the old school way of just sending a CV. Now you need to have a profile. So is your profile in all the tech company that you would want to work for? Is your profile already within the systems? Are you doing, as I said, what are you doing extra? Are you building your portfolio? Do you have something that you can showcase? Because now it's not about you saying, I can do this. It's about you showing. At that interview, it's like you showing what you can do. So are you preparing yourself to show what you can do? And then this also pushes us as techies to no longer be the introverted techies. When you're showing what you can do, you don't need to have presentation skills. You need to be able to communicate. So again, are you investing yourself in terms of those things? In your universities, in your spaces, are you taking up leadership positions, for example, like let's say Adeline is now the lead of the AWS user group. That is where she's practicing her leadership skills. You know, when you take over such roles, you're in campus and you're leading the science group and stuff like that, as you talk to people every day, every time, that's how you also practice how you're going to present yourself at the interview. And that's why even you're trying to fight imposter syndrome, because now you get more confidence. So what are those things you're doing to ready yourself to go out there? Are you building that portfolio? Are you getting information about what is evolving? What are the new trends? How do you incorporate yourself to the new trends? What are these companies doing? What is the AWS? When AWS came into Kenya, right now they're looking for talent. So are you ready? Are you ready to be able to be accommodated in AWS? But for that, you also have had an interest in AWS before, done some certification and all that. So again, for me, it's just information is power. The information is available online. The tech companies are doing so much in Kenya right now. Are you following them? Are you engaging them? Are you partnering with them in the different groups? Universities have small cells that they do stuff in. Are you looking out? Are you trying to create user groups like the GDGs? I believe GDGs are very powerful in this country. They have created a niche for themselves. Are we challenging ourselves as AWS user groups to be able to get to that same level? Because again, that is how we are linking from the school or academia part to the working part. So for me, it is go out there, be more intentional about your career, be more intentional about yourself. It's no longer about I'll get my first class and I'll get a job. No, you have to do so much more. And you can only do that much more if you have the information.
Yes, that's true. And I can attest to that. Yes, so as someone is asking that you share your LinkedIn profile, they would like to follow you on LinkedIn. And then the recording will share after, let's say, end of today. Yes. So an advice for those who are doing AWS cloud computing course, I'll advise you to document every lab and project and share on your LinkedIn. I did the course and I did not document much, but I wish I did. Yeah. So it's better to document whatever you're doing, because it's your story that you're telling out there to people and to recruiters. Yes. Okay, sure. I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. So at this moment, without any further ado, I'd like all of us to put on our videos. We take a photo and then can call it a session. So the recording will be provided. And thank you, Donna, for accepting our invite. I understand yesterday you were in another meeting that was so involving. We really appreciate it. Okay. Yes, and maybe at this point, I'll also like to welcome Terence to share, to just share our upcoming event that we are planning to host.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Donna, for making time for this one. So thank you. It's sleep day. Adeline, you know, it's
So if you are interested
for this session,
and
diversity is a big deal.
So if
We
you
are
have
not
any questions for us, if you want to know more, please let me know.
also
Thank you so much.
the pillars that we have built: women in IT, persons with disability, and
Terence, you're muted.
oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning again.
Morning.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna, for the excellent session early this morning. Adeline and the rest of the AUG Secretariat, you know, we normally work so hard during the weekday, and Saturday for me is sleep day, but I made time anyway. One, I will thank Donna on behalf of AUG, and also I will thank her for highlighting what we do from an inclusion and diversity perspective. We continue to be very committed to the 3 pillars that I've also worked on where inclusion and diversity is concerned. I know women in IT is a very big thing, and that has been one of our pillars. We've been really championing that. The other one that we've been championing strongly are persons with disability. I know that is a second pillar that we have really worked well on that one, and there's still much more to be done, especially with persons with disability. And then there's a third pillar within that inclusion and diversity that gets forgotten, but I'm happy to see people like Pauline Jr. here who've worked very strongly with us on that third pillar on the refugee learners. I mean, your tentacles have spread to places like Kakuma, and you've done courses there. Your tentacles have spread to places like Dadaab. You've not forgotten those people. And Kenya and Africa, you are very unique. I will again say where refugee learners is concerned, you are very unique. We've even been educating Ukrainian refugees who have gotten asylum in Western Europe and more so Germany, and we are even very happy to report that many of those refugees are now doing very interesting jobs in blue chip corporations, and that is a very good contribution that I can call it from Africa to the world. Keep it up, keep up the good work. So, Adeline, we will be talking about our AWS Community Day, the very inaugural one for Kenya, and the one that has been mentioned. We want it to evolve into a full-blown summit, and maybe sometime down the line, when the rest of you who are on this call take over from us, you might turn it into the Kenyan AWS reInvent edition. And on 20th of April, it's going to be announced again officially, but on 20th of April, we are hosting the very inaugural AWS User Group Kenya. It's going to bring so many stakeholders together. I know most of you will form half of the delegates who will be there, especially the university learners. You are most welcome. Public sector will be represented. Government has been invited. The corporates like Safaricom and many others, and especially those, I mean, you know, Safaricom is a platinum partner where AWS is concerned. They are invited. The likes of Silicon Overdrive, advanced tire partner to AWS and the best performing advanced tire partner in Africa, is there as sponsor. Hey, bring your CV. I heard people talking about, I want a placement, I want an internship. Hey, ukikosa utachekwa. Bring your CV. We are encouraging the sponsors, we are encouraging the exhibitors to come in the booths with their HR departments to receive your CVs, to receive your certificates. There's a lot going on. A lot of you are already in teams. You are doing the depresser, which is a very good event. If you are in a team that belongs to your school, you will do the depresser event, and you'll receive, of course, very, very good knowledge from Celo, the solutions architect from AWS, who is guiding and coaching and mentoring those people. But you'll also learn reinforcement learning for AI and ML. So there's a lot. It's just the type of event that ukikosa utachekwa. And you ensure you tag along your brother, your sister, the members of the various communities you belong to. We wanted to make it a very vibrant and very informative and the best learning opportunity where technology and cloud computing will be concerned. And we don't want anybody left behind. If you feel that there's any of those communities from inclusion and diversity that I've talked about, we may have forgotten, reach out to Adeline, reach out to me, reach out to our AUG secretariat. It's all over LinkedIn, and we really want to ensure that it's one big party where we are all involved. Once again, Donna, thank you for making time for this wonderful crowd this morning. And I also thank the people who joined the call. Thank you for taking time out of your restful schedules for today to participate fully. Over to you, Adeline.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll get a parting shot from Donna, and then we can close.
I think for me, it's the quote by my angel. Just remember, in everything that you do, what you say, what you do may not matter, but how you make someone feel. So as you deal with everyone, be intentional about understanding the differences that are seen and unseen. So be present in your actions, be present in your conversation, so that you can accommodate and you can include everyone. It doesn't hurt to do that. Thanks.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be kind. Okay, thank you guys for joining. Have a blessed weekend ahead. And please, for the developers, it's time you go out. We have Chapadimba ongoing. This time round is here in Nairobi. So feel free to go to Dandora's grounds. Yeah, it will be there. And have a good one, guys. Bye-bye. See you on to the next.